What's up, you guys? Joey from Nostalgia coming at you with another episode of Toy Talk and our ongoing series comparing the Diamond Select and ToyBiz figures from Lord of the Rings. Today we've got our boy Frodo. So, yeah, we'll start oldest figure first, and then we'll do a side-by-side comparison. So let's jump right into it. Yeah, so first things first, here's the ToyBiz Frodo from Fellowship of the Ring. This is the Frodo from the Fellowship box set. I'm pretty sure he was released individually as well. But, yeah, the first thing I always notice when I look at this guy was ToyBiz's affinity for the windswept look sculpted into all their clothes. It makes these figures look a little more dynamic when just sitting on a shelf, especially if you have them in like certain poses, but it really limits the possibilities of what you can do with the figures. So like, I'm usually not a big fan of it, but in context of him being a box set of all the Fellowship, you know, marching along the mountain or whatever, like, sure, it's alright. But other than that, the sculpted detail on this guy is really, really good. You got this ongoing just weave pattern on his whole jacket. It looks fantastic. And it really captures just sort of the look of Frodo. The face is okay. Just like all the other ToyBiz figures we've looked at, the skin tone looks a little milky, but a little too yellow. I don't know, I can't quite put my finger on it. It just doesn't look, it doesn't have the depth of colors, you know, so it's sort of like those blue and red undertones that skin usually has. It just looks a little off. The sculpt for his face is good. It reads as Frodo, but it isn't like perfect Elijah Wood. But yeah, I really like the hair. The hair looks fantastic, sculpted really well, and it's got that dry brushing just across it, just sort of bring out a little bit of that brown on top of that real dark plastic. But yeah, overall the sculpting is great. I really wish there was like a one ring or something. You know, I just think like that's so important that you think we'd be able to see it. I know he keeps it like under his vest a lot of the times, but yeah, whatever. He's got some wrinkly pants and some hairy feet. Well, something that always bothered me with these ToyBiz figures is again, they're really heavy on the washes, but pretty much the foot hair detail on the hobbits is just a wash. I feel like it should have been a dry brush, you know, over just to pick out like the raised detail of the hair, but instead it's like a really heavily applied wash that just sort of, I don't know, doesn't feel right to me. It looks fine, it's serviceable, but yeah, I feel like that could have been done a little better. Yeah, for accessories, of course, we got Sting, and this looks really good. It's a real bright silver. There's some wear on this just because this is the one I had as a kid, so it's been played with. A lot of these details have that same kind of wash, but again, like it's really heavily applied, so it kind of really misses the mark in these really fine detailed areas. But overall, this Sting looks pretty good. Some of the red paint here is worn off over the years, but I really like how bright silver this is. A lot of the other, the stuff with like Gimli and Legolas especially, the metallic paints weren't as bright as I would have wanted them to be. But here Sting looks really good. Yeah, you can imagine this glowing blue, but he did come with a sheath for Sting, a little red sheath, but that has been lost from 20 years of play with this thing. So he did also come with this elven cloak. It's blue. I don't know why it's blue, because they're all green in the movie, but you know, it does look really good. I really like the way it looks in blue. I don't have it on him because I can't quite get it to peg anymore across him. It does have that little sculpted elven brooch there with the leaf. Looks pretty good for how small it is. It's got picked out with like a little bit of green and silver paint. But yeah, again, really windswept. I think, oh shit, I just tore that apart a little further. Yeah, I don't know why Frodo is the most beat up out of all my Lord of the Rings figures, but yeah, the cloak would just go across him and peg there, but I just can't get it to do it anymore. I don't know if it's like the rubbery plastic has like shrunk over the years or what. Oh, I almost got it, but yeah, there's like a little crack in the rubber right there too. But yeah, it looks really good, and that windswept sculpt all goes in the same direction, which is nice. And I don't know, just kind of like the reddish brown of his little coat and the blue look really good together. Like I said, I don't know why his cloak is blue, especially since it's the elven cloak clearly, because it's got the brooch, but like, looks good, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty much all the accessories this guy came with. But onto the articulation. His head doesn't really go up, it goes down just a little bit. No really head rock, but he does get like a full 360 like that. His arms get a full 360. They can go out just about as far as you need them to. Single jointed elbows, just short of 90 degrees, and then a swivel at the wrist. His wrists are kind of sculpted at this weird angle. I don't, this one not quite so much, but yeah, I don't know. Just a weird sort of, you know, instead of having the hinge that could rocket side to side, it's just sort of stuck in that pose, but that's alright. No diaphragm joint, but he does have waist swivel, which is refreshing considering all the other ToyBiz figures we looked at have not had that waist swivel, so that's really, really great here to be able to have that. But he does have really limited hips. He can kick forward that far, and can kick back about none. His butt sculpt is just in the way. It just sort of cut out like that and meets together, doesn't let it go back any further. But no spread. Those are just swivel joints there. Single jointed knees that can get you 90 degrees. Pretty good for little single jointed knees, especially considering how all this sculpt is around it, how it all fits together well. And then you got these swivels at his ankle cut there, where it meets the pants. He does have sort of this, you know, in his capris here, he has like this specific sculpt along his lower legs and ankles that it makes it weird to get him to stand up. He's always sort of balanced and wonky, and there's clear like this is the sweet spot that they want him posed at with his feet like that. But if you kind of get him in any other position, yeah, he's just gonna fall over. He isn't particularly sturdy. Yeah, like every ToyBiz figure we've looked at, it's clear they were sculpted with one pose in mind, and you know, changing that up, they just kind of fall over and sort of destroys the illusion of the character. But compared to Legolas and Gimli, this one, you know, has the least problem with it, I think. Gimli, his sculpt being so noisy and so bulky, he blends together really well. But if you move any of his joints, it's clear he wasn't supposed to be looking like that. But Frodo has really solid articulation all around, and I think that is in part due to him not having any stupid, dumb action feature where he can squeeze his legs and he can, you know, slash with his sword or whatever, so he doesn't have to worry about that, and that's probably why he has a waist swivel too. So yeah, overall, for such a little guy, he's got pretty good articulation and a really, really nice sculpt. So yeah, let's go on to the Diamond Select figure. Oh, yep, there he goes. But yeah, let's go into the Diamond Select figure and see how he stacks up. Here we are with the Diamond Select Frodo, and this guy looks great. This is pretty much the same costume. This one does not come with a cloak, but it's the same, that vest and sort of coat here. Starting off with that sculpted detail, it's not quite as detailed as that ToyBiz one. That's because these sculpted details here in his coat are much finer, much more subtle as compared to the really sort of chunkiness of the ToyBiz ones, and that's kind of a running theme we're seeing with these two lines. It's just the Diamond Select having really, really small sculpted details where these are bigger, chunkier, and sort of stand out. think chunky is the term I would use. But yeah, to me, this really reads as Frodo. The face sculpt looks great, and I can't tell if Diamond Select does the face printing that like Hasbro has been doing. If it is, it's really, really subtle, but it looks more Elijah Wood to me. It has that like sort of wistful glare, sort of he always has. I also like just sort of the shaggier hair. His hair's feels a little too short here, and not quite curly enough, even though it's sculpted really nicely. I do think this sort of more exaggerated curls feels better. So yeah, overall, I do think the face really does do a little more justice to that likeness of Elijah Wood. The feet, you know, compared to the ToyBiz ones, they still kind of did like a wash, really thick, heavy wash to paint the fur, which, again, I don't understand why they did that. So it just kind of looks like he's got like 2 patches of fur glued on top of his feet. But just like Legolas, he has this wash or dry brush or something across his skin that just looks dirty as hell. But here it feels right to me. I mean, he's a hobbit. He's walking around Middle-earth with no shoes. Yeah, his feet are going to be schnasty, and they really do look schnasty. But he doesn't have that wash on his hands or his face like Legolas did. So I do think this looks really, really good. And this skin tone feels more right than any of the ToyBiz ones does. Feels better than the Diamond Select Legolas did. But I do have, this is probably just a problem with my figure. There's just a little bit of a paint scuffage or something, some bubbling or something like that right under the eye. So it gives it a bit of a weird look, but overall it's not a big deal. It was just a very, very minor QC issue. But yeah, and this coat is clearly a lot more vanilla sculpted than the ToyBiz one was. Got some weird like paint scuffing on it. I don't know where that got there, but it is sculpted out of the way for Sting's sheath here, which is was permanently attached to his belt. That just popped off way easier than it should have. A little bit of super glue should fix that, but yeah, see, like that little belt strap there is sculpted in there, permanently attached. So yeah, that's my bad for being a gorilla. The sculpted detail on this thing looks fantastic. The paint looks really good. It's dirty in the right places and clean in the others. He looks dapper, as you know, a hobbit should. Hobbits, despite their dirty feet, are fancy little boys. So I do think overall his sculpted detail is fantastic. Let's check out his accessories here. So he also comes with Sting. Just like the past couple Diamond Select figures we looked at, the sculpting here is really, really sharp. The silver looks fantastic. It stands out. And the hilt doesn't quite have as much detailed painting as the ToyBiz one, which also had sort of that wash over the silver. And this one does, but it's not quite as heavy. You can see here. And the red on this one's hilt stands out a whole lot more. But yeah, for the most part, they're still very, very similar sculpts. It's just this one's upscaled and is a bit sharper. But yeah, I don't really know if I have a preference. I really do like the brighter red on the hilt, but I do think this sort of slightly brighter silver and sharper details looks really good for Sting. And I would consider the sheath part of that accessory, but yeah, it slots in there perfectly. Oh, well, should be perfectly. It's a little tight now. Ooh. Yeah, I'd be worried about that chipping some paint. Just because Diamond Select figures like chipping paint, but yeah, that bright silver looks really good. That looks awesome like that. But this Diamond Select figure also came with the star of something, the Flail of Galadriel. I forget what the hell it's called. Yeah, I hate this. This is kind of honestly dog shit. Like, this is just a little sculpted thing that's painted silver. Like, if it was molded in translucent plastic and then had like a little bit of paint, like that would have been really cool, or something to make this a little more interesting. This doesn't even really look like it, and when I pulled this out of the packaging, I was like, what the hell is this? So, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Yeah, it's cool we got something else other than Sting, but I would have preferred like a soft goods cloak or something. That would have been really cool. It doesn't really fit in his hand all too well. It could sort of like gently rest in there, but it's not like he really holds it. Yeah, he'll drop it right out of his hand. You can sort of stick it in this one, but he doesn't hold it all that good in that one either, so it just feels really pointless to me, and the execution was mediocre. But compared to everything else, like, okay, yeah, we get one mediocre accessory with a really good and well-executed figure, so yeah, it'd be like that sometimes. So, yeah, going over the articulation, we're going to see similar themes with all the other ones. Yeah, his head looks up this far, look down that far, and he's got a rock, and 360 all the way around. His arms, at 360, can go out about that far, and he's got single jointed elbows that get you just a little under 90 degrees, and he's got a swivel and that little peg hinge there, so his hands can go up and down. That's the same on both arms. This one's sort of got his little grabby hand, and this one's got this sort of open gesturing hand, sort of relaxed. This guy does have a waist swivel. That's scary now that that is not glued. I will have to fix that. And he's got a little bit of his belt hanging down here. But he's got ball pegs here on his hips, so he can kick forward that far and can kick back about that far. Could probably go a little more, but this rubber jacket is much stiffer than the other ones, so this really stops it from going any further. It's got a spread about, oh, that's scary. That's really scary, and it really wouldn't do anything with that being, like, you know, glued as it should be. But yeah, he can do the splits if you're brave enough or stupid enough to break this, as I was. But yeah, then he's got these upper thigh cut here that gets you a 360 swivel, and he's got these sculpted sort of knee cuts here. Oh, good lord. But yeah, and it doesn't really break the sculpt all that much. I really appreciate when they sort of go the extra mile and do that. Sometimes it can be really jarring and weird looking, but it looks pretty good there. And you get 90 degrees out of that, so that looks great. And then he does have a cut. No, he doesn't. I was mistaken. This is different molded plastic, so I guess I just assumed that there would be a joint cut there, but there is not. There's a hinge at his feet. They go up that far and go back that far. You really stick them out like a ballerina. And then the ever beautiful ankle pivot. Yeah, with how much paint is on these hips, I don't know if the camera caught that piece of paint flying as I did that pivot there. But yeah, I'd be really afraid to do too much. You know, look at how much paint chipping is going on in that hinge there. That is scary. But yeah, this is pretty thin plastic here, and Diamond Select's plastic is more the brittle variety. So I try to be as careful as possible with these feet, because I really does feel like they'll break if I'm too ape-handed with them as I was with his belt. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to him. So let's put these figures side by side and see how they stack up. So yeah, here are these figures side by side, and clearly they're of different scales. Frodo from Diamond Select is in Diamond Select Standard 7-inch scale, so he'll fit in with your NECA figures. On the right, the ToyBiz figure is more the 6-inch scale, so that'll fit in with like Star Wars The Black Series, Marvel Legends. So there's a clear size difference between them. But yeah, they both read as Frodo to me. But unlike the past couple figures, I honestly really do prefer the Diamond Select figure here. His sculpted detail is much more subtle, but it feels more accurate and more realistic. Whereas these really chunky weaves in this jacket just sort of read as cartoony. But the paint, I think it's better. His skin looks so much better. His face and hair look good. His sting looks great. Yeah, he doesn't have a cloak, but he looks great, and he feels great, and he's got much better poses. As you can see, the ToyBiz Frodo has this weird sort of not very vanilla ape pose. What is that? 3 times I've said ape in this video. Make that 4 now. But he doesn't really have that vanilla pose, and part of that is because of the way that this jacket is sculpted, flowing in the wind. But yeah, just sort of that ToyBiz effect. So yeah, I mean, personally, I really do prefer the Diamond Select figure in this instance, but I still do have a lot of nostalgia for that ToyBiz figure. And again, I do think it's up to what kind of collection you have. You've got vintage appeal, you've got more modern engineering and articulation, and really accurate paint job with Diamond Select. So yeah, I think there's more possibilities with Diamond Select, but that doesn't discredit the ToyBiz figure in this instance. Unlike the past couple figures, it really was a toss-up which one I thought was better. Here I really do think Diamond Select really brought their all with Frodo. The only thing I wish is that, like, instead of this little flail thing, we could have gotten like a 1 ring. That would have been really scary and small, but and this is scary and small too, so like just like a little chain. Could have been like just a little chain with a little gold ring on it. It would have been awesome. It would have been nice if it was metal, but yeah, that might be asking a little too much, just because I think that flail is kind of a waste of an accessory. Yeah, I think a more realistic ask would have been a cloth goods cloak. That would have been great. But it is worth pointing out that this Diamond Select Frodo came with the biggest Build-A-Figure parts for that Sauron. Came with the top and bottom half of the torso and the big cloak. So there wasn't all that much space left in that box, despite being a relatively small figure with small accessories. Yeah, it would have been cool if we got like a little sculpted 1 ring on either of these guys, just because like the Lord of the Rings, Frodo is the ring bearer, is supposed to have the ring, or like an alternate hand with the ring sort of in his palm. That would have been great. But yeah, I mean, that's just sort of nitpicking at this point, asking for things that we probably wouldn't be able to get in the first place. So yeah, again, I think that Diamond Select figure is great. He looks so good. He looks sad all the time, which is right. What does this guy look like? He looks like someone to me. And it's not Elijah Wood. He looks kind of like Daniel Radcliffe. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got for these guys. Yeah, they're both great figures, but honestly, this Diamond Select figure really is solid, and I would suggest picking him up. And if you do pick him up, you gotta pick up the rest of the wave to do that Sauron Build-A-Figure. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get there eventually. Yeah, if you did enjoy this, please like, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you don't miss the rest of this series or any other of the great shows we got on the Nostalgic Network. This show's still pretty free-flowing for me, just talking about toys. We're going to do some documentary-style stuff. So if you've got any suggestions, drop them in the comments. I love feedback. I'd be really happy to see what you guys have to say on these videos, and if there's anything else you'd like to see. So yeah, we'll see you next time.
Watch out for the dragon! Dragon? Not since there's been a dragon in these parts for 1,000 years!